Welcome to the Wolf's Den and the second episode of the series I am doing on modern G.I. Joe figures that I have made customs of. In this particular episode, we're going to be taking a look at the Marauder Task Force Valkyries figures, the first wave of figures that were released recently, and what I customized those figures into. The second wave hasn't shipped yet as of this recording. It is supposed to in the next few weeks. And so I'll do a separate video on what I customize those figures into. So let's get started. First figure we're going to look at today is named Raven. And Raven isn't even part of G.I. Joe or Cobra. She is part of a third faction that I came up with. A faction of mostly ninjas and martial artists. And I came up with this separate group because I had all these red ninjas and black ninjas and other ninjas that were supposed to be part of Cobra's forces, and I just really didn't like the idea that Cobra had a bunch of ninjas working for him. I don't know why, but I know that's part of the history of G.I. Joe and everything, but I thought I want something a little different. So I'm going to take all these ninjas away from Cobra and I'm going to make them a separate group, somebody different that G.I. Joe has to fight other than Cobra. So having all these male ninja figures, I decided, once I got these Valkyries, let's make a female ninja. And so I came up with a Raven here. And she is in all black with the Night Ops legs and the black t-shirted upper body and the black masked head here. Gave her these cool chain weapons with the hooks on the end, whatever exactly this weapon is supposed to be. It's just an extra one that I had. It came with, I believe, a Pursuit of Cobra Storm Shadow, but I just thought it looked pretty cool, and she looked pretty menacing with them, just having her holding them there, and then the chain is draped around her. I just liked the way that looked. And then her sword and sword sheath on the back. The sheath, the peg didn't really fit very well, so I had to do some trimming of the peg to be able to fit the hole in her back, just because the hole is smaller on these Valkyries figures than it is on other Joe figures. But there is Raven. And the first Joe figure I have today, I've named Wi-Fi. She is G.I. Joe's new communications / computer expert, since I don't have a figure for breaker, dial tone, or mainframe. She's taking their place. And nothing too special here, other than, she's got the headset, the flip down binoculars there, the radio backpack. Sadly, her ponytail cannot fit underneath the backpack, so it's just kind of hanging off the side there, so that looks a little silly. Otherwise, I like the way she turned out. And so there is Wi-Fi. The next Joe I have for today is named Sandblast, and as you can probably tell, she is a desert operations trooper here. And the design is pretty basic. I didn't go crazy on her. Looks kind of like the others as far as what pouches and whatnot I put on her. Although I do like the goggles and the little scarf here. And I gave her the hydration backpack because she is in the desert, so she's going to need some water. But pretty basic design, but I still like the way she looks. I actually came up with the idea for Sandblast a few years ago when G.I. Joe Retaliation was out, because Paramount Pictures and Hasbro had a website called buildagijoe.com, which doesn't work anymore. It actually just forwards you to the G.I. Joe Retaliation Facebook page. But on this site, you had a blank character. It was kind of like a paper doll, and then you just put different outfits, different gear, different weapons on the character, and you could change hair color and skin color and all that stuff. And in the end, you could give it a name and a specialty, and that was this new character that you created, and then you could save it onto your computer. And Sandblast was one of the characters I had created, along with one of the Cobra characters I will show later. And I had always wanted to customize that character into a figure because I just liked the idea of it, and with the Valkyries I was finally able to do that. The first Cobra figure I have today is named Fatale, and as you're looking at her, you're probably thinking the exact same thing I thought. She looks just like Firefly. And when I got these Valkyrie figures and I put the Urban Ops figure together, that's the thought that I had. This character looks like Firefly. So I decided to run with that idea and have this character had an infatuation with Firefly. So she modeled herself and her abilities after Firefly, and eventually came into the notice of Cobra, and they hired her. So now Cobra has two saboteurs that look pretty much the same. Just one's male and one's female. And so she's got the explosive pack here draped over her shoulder, and you'll probably notice that these little clips are back here. The clips I couldn't find a use for when I got the figures. Well, I decided to use them here because this thing tends to slip right off her shoulder, and using these kind of help keep it in place. So for right now, I've got those clips on her back to keep her explosive pack from falling off. She's even got a gun from the G.I. Joe Renegades Firefly. I thought it was a good match for her. So, yeah, Firefly's always been one of my favorite characters, and so having another Firefly on the team, I thought was a pretty cool idea. I even thought of naming her Lady Firefly, but I decided against that. So, there is Fatale. The last figure I have for today is another Cobra. Her name is Naga. And as you can tell by the picture, Naga is the second character I made using the Build a G.I. Joe figure website. And while the picture and the figure don't look that much alike, other than perhaps the all-black outfit, I did really like the name. I liked her background, and again, the all-black look. So I took the little bits that I could and I turned it into this figure here, and it uses the Valkyrie's Night Ops body. It does have a pair of pistols, as you can see, a pair of knives. She's got the belt here with a bunch of pouches on it. And so that's all very basic Valkyries stuff. But she's got some additional things that weren't part of the Valkyries line. And first would be her cloak. And the cloak came from one of the first Thor movie figures from Hogan. And I think that fits really nice over her. And I've tried displaying the figure without the cloak, and I just don't like the way it looks as much. I really think she looks much better with that cloak on. Her head sculpt is actually a Resolute Baroness with the hair removed. And then the helmet is a Dollar General Cobra Trooper helmet. And as you can tell, the helmet is covering up her eyes, so you can only see her lips and her nose a little bit on her face. And I don't know why, but I just really like the way that looks. Gives her kind of this mysterious air to her. Like, why can't we see her eyes? So I really like the way that looks. This is probably my favorite figure that I've shown you today. I hope you all enjoyed this look at some of the customs I made using the first wave of Marauder Valkyries figures. Stay tuned next time when we take a look at either the second wave of figures, or if those don't arrive soon enough, it'll be some of the simpler customs that I made. Ones that involve head swaps or a couple part swaps. Some of the easier customs that I've done. So until then, thanks for watching.